Today marks our 85th Hippopotamus Defense video, and in this video we're going to be going over a more advanced middle game concept for you Hippo Defense players. Now, if you've invested in my 6+ hour long course on the Hippo, or if you've been watching the content, you probably know that I'm big on the 4 main middle game attacking ideas that the Hippo can play, right? The Hippo player, you get into your full thick-skinned Hippo, semi-Hippo, whatever it is, and then from there, right, you start to kind of look at ideas, look at what the opponent's attacking and not attacking. In this video, we're looking at one of those middle game ideas, but then a second idea that can often follow, which is pretty dangerous, in all honesty, getting us great kingside attacking chances in plenty of games. Now, the game that I'm about to show you, I recently played against a 2200 ELO Ike Miller National Master player at the Too Tuff Chess Club. Highly underrated YouTube channel, some great content, and I highly recommend that y'all go check them out. They got some great stuff dropping, and yeah, I mean, they're a channel that I really think is going to be around for a long time. A lot of growth ahead of them, and the quality that they're pumping out already, I mean, it's only going to go up, right? So I highly recommend that you guys go and sub to that channel. This is the the channel that, again, I played this game on with my guy Ike Miller, and here I was playing with the white pieces. Okay, now this is a bullet game. This is 2+1 over the board. Okay, this is not 1+0 online. Okay, so we can't do all the pre-moves and stuff. Okay, we have to actually, use our hands and move the pieces. And we also have an increment with +1, which kind of makes it so that we can't just flag someone if we're completely losing, right? If our opponent at least makes a move within a second and they keep doing that, their time can build. Okay, let's take a look at the game. So I'm playing white here. I start out this thing with G3. Okay, D5 is played. I go with my usual 1, 2, and 3. I play E3, Bishop G4. Hey guys, if you see this move, okay, don't play this. Please don't play that. Okay, F3, just don't. Okay, anyways, okay, don't play that. Don't play knight F3 either. Just play what you were gonna play. You were gonna put a knight on E2. Do that, right? Here, my guy Ike develops his knight, H3. Right, were we going to put our pawn on H3 anyways? Yep, so let's do it. We get tempo against that bishop. The bishop now runs, and we now have B3, fianchettoing our second bishop. And now against A5, we play A3. Whole idea being is that if A4 was played, I can now play the move of B4. And this pawn is really nothing but a big old target. But I do want to mention something. This didn't happen in the game, but if you do get a position like this, okay, and your opponent advances with one of their sideline pawns, you push back, and then you see something here like C5, right? Notice that this move is only possible because there's no knight blocking that C pawn, right? I mean, this C pawn is free to roam. If we see a move like C5, there's some options that you have here. I mean, sound moves include, ideas like B5, G4, just kicking the bishop with tempo here, and also taking this pawn. Now, after bishop takes, as an example, this is one of those positions where I think there might be some value in kind of deviating from the main Hippo setup, right? Making a small little shift, and that's by playing this move of knight B to C3. Why not knight D2? Well, knight D2 here, the knight, this is pretty normal, right? They have a central pawn on D5, but this pawn on A4 is preventing our knight from coming to B3, right? Why would we make it so that this pawn is really kind of shutting our knight down, instead of us playing the move of knight C3 and us attacking their pawn, as well as this weak B5 square? Okay, what does black get out of this? What are some advantages that black gets here? Well, some advantages include the fact that we have an isolated pawn. Okay, black doesn't have an isolated pawn here. On top of that, they do have an open file that they can somewhat take advantage of potentially. But that said, we can too. Right, we can play a move like rook b1 pretty shortly here and just gain some activity. I would also say another weakness that black has formed is the fact that this pawn on a4 is very advanced. I mean, this rook really is babysitting this pawn, and the square of b5 is also pretty weak. Okay, I mean, because for the rest of this game, there's not going to be a pawn for black that can defend that unless this pawn finds a way to capture something. Okay, I mean, there's just nothing there to defend this square. So a move like knight b5 is often a great idea, supported by the rook, giving this bishop more activity, eyeing a bunch of key dark squares, and even allowing us to kind of maneuver back to the center if we need to. Okay, so just wanted to put that on your radar. If you do see a move like A4, you play here and they play C5, you can take, and then from here, just develop a piece, put the rook on B1, you know, active rook, active bishop. The b5 square is weak. And sure, you got to be a little bit flexible here in terms of how you approach the hippo. But here is white. We have a solid playable game. What else could we ask for, right? We play this move a3. Now, in the game, I play this move of bishop e7. Now, in this case, I just finish out my hippo. In this case, I have a full thick-skinned hippo. You might see this in the comments, like people saying full thick-skinned hippo, and you're like, what? Who are these weirdos? Okay, what does it mean? Well, it basically means that there's these pawns, these 6 pawns in the 6th rank. Okay, now is full thick-skinned hippo an actual term? No. Okay, it's just used on this channel. In fact, I as well as all the subs on this channel have made up plenty of different names that don't exist except on this channel, but you get the idea. We have our 6 pawns here, our 2 knights tucked, and our 2 fianchettoed bishops. My opponent castles. Now is the breather moment, another term that I made up. You know, when it comes to the hippo, and that's after you reach move 10. Okay, you got your hippo. What now? There's 4 middle game attacking ideas that I'm fond of, and I've covered it again, both in my course and on this channel before. One of them is pushing one of these pawns and usually tucking a knight right behind. Another one is using a flank pawn, central pawns, and finally the knights moving. I would actually say that the one that I use the least is the central push, right? I don't use this as much, okay, but I do like these pushes. Great way to gain some space, attacking chances, you name it. Flank pawn moves can often be a really good idea, and sometimes these knights just kind of jumping around maneuvering is also a great thing to do. Now, in this position, let's look at the main idea that I use personally. Okay, I know there's certain players like Simon Williams, he loves the flank pawn pushes, and I use those quite a bit as well, but in general, when possible, and when the opportunity presents itself, I really do enjoy pushing those B and G pawns and tucking a knight. Now, in this case, B4, this is simply not a move. There's nothing to think about here because black's just going to win a pawn. And it's not like they're kings on the queen side or anything, right? I mean, the king's way over here. So what do we gain by breaking this open and losing a pawn? Not much, except being down a pawn. But this move of G4 here is very nice. Not only do we gain some space, but we gain tempo against this bishop. So I play the move of G4 here. I now play knight G3. Notice how, because we got tempo against that bishop, a move, you know, like H5 just isn't very good now because we have 3 pieces attacking this pawn. I mean, we can either take or even push, support this guy on G5. We're still attacking this pawn with 2 different pieces. Very active fianchetto bishop on B2. I mean, we have a great game. So going back to knight G3, instead we see this move of E5. Okay, here black probably looking to just gain some space and kind of, you know, counteract the activity of my dark squared bishop. And this is kind of the more advanced concept that I want to talk about in today's video, okay? And it follows, again, one of the 4 main middle game ideas when you push your G or B pawns and then you tuck the knight behind. This can work on either side. We're going to focus on the king side today, though. In this position, once we get our knight tucked, we should ask ourselves the question. Every time we do this, just ask yourself the question, right? And eventually you're just going to be doing it subconsciously. You're not going to have to like audibly. You're just going to start looking at the board and recognizing these patterns. The question we have to ask is how many black pieces are attacking these 2 squares on the board? Why is that? Why did I pick these 2? Well, we'll see in a moment. But really the more advanced question is, okay, not only how many pieces are attacking it, but are there 2 pieces attacking either one? If the answer is no, you're good to push up your H pawn, right? Let's look at this one. Are there 2 black pieces attacking this pawn? No, just 1, right? Are there 2 black pieces attacking this square on H4? There's 0. Because of that, we can play H4, gain some space, fantastic space, attacking chances. And in this case, we're actually threatening to trap the bishop. Now going back, right, the reason that the number 2 matters is let's say this bishop was here, the knight was doing something over there, and the queen was here. That would mean there's a battery ram on G4. In that case, H4 simply doesn't work because they're going to take our pawn, right? But due to the fact that there's only 1 attacker, we're fine. They need 2 in order to prevent H4. On top of that, if this knight ran backwards, H4 would just drop a pawn. So that's not a good idea either. Okay, but in this case, since there's only 1 and 0, even if there's 1, 1, you get the idea. As long as there's not 2 on one of those 2 squares, you're able to push with h4. And this gives us some very interesting possibilities. I mentioned that we're threatening to trap this bishop, and because of that, black played h6. But let's say black plays a move like rook e8. On top of trapping this bishop, we can play a move like g5, and then knight is also trapped with nowhere to go. In fact, in my last tournament where I gained the National Master title by playing nothing but the Hippo, we have a very similar position. I think, the bishop was somewhere else, but the whole idea here is that, black here, they have a pretty foundational, normal looking setup, right? They have a knight supporting a knight. They brought the rook to the center, all that kind of, guess what? The knight has nowhere to go, right? You can't take one of your own pieces, and none of these squares are safe either. We're about to go up a piece for a pawn. We'll take it, right? Maybe even more than a piece if our opponent misplays this. So that's something to think about as well. Now, obviously, if this knight has the e8 square, then it's not trapped. But you'll run into this. I've had this multiple times where I get this idea, right? Or even without, I mean, you don't even need the pawn in h4 technically, and you can just trap that knight, that minor piece having nowhere to go. It's very interesting. When you play something like the Hippo, players study the opening so much. I mean, goodness, they study the opening so much. They ignore the middle game and end game in terms of their studies. And because of that, when they reach positions that they're not familiar with, they kind of have a hard time knowing what to do, right? And I'm not saying this about anyone in particular. I've been there, right? I mean, we're obviously more comfortable in the openings that we play, but that's what's so great about the Hippo, right? No matter how much opening theory your opponent has studied on the Carl Khan, on the Pierce, on the Scandinavian, on the Sicilian, on the King's Indian attack, King's Indian defense, Kali system, as you can tell, I'm a chess opening nerd, but it doesn't matter. The second we play the Hippo, it all goes out the window. I'll hop off my sales pitch for at least 30 seconds. We have this move of h4. So I'm threatening h5, and I have great space here. My opponent plays h6, and here I decide to break things open with g5. Now, in the game, the move of knight e8 is played. But let's take a look at what happens if black takes, right? It seems as if after knight h7, black is simply going to win this pawn. Well, first off, if you really want to hold on to your pawn, you can play f4. This is a viable option. But another thing that you could go with is a move like queen g4, right? Now, let's say, black plays something like bishop takes. Let's just start putting pressure on this file. We're down a pawn, but in kind of a reverse Bango Gambit type style, we have an open file on the h, wide open, and their king's on g8, by the way, guys. And this rook can later come to g1 as well on the semi-open file. How is black going to fight actively for both of these files with major pieces? I don't know. On top of that, we have a dark squared bishop that is aimed directly towards that side of the board. Some of y'all might be thinking, why does that matter? Let's take a look. Let's say here black plays a move like bishop h6. Just trying to, put a little bit more here so that they're not so loose. Let's start bringing our pieces towards the king side, right? Castling is a terrible idea. We need to not put our king here. We need to put both of our rooks here at some point and get an active game. Okay, knight f3, keep bringing that knight over. This is a common Hippo idea as well. If a move like knight g5, our plan was to play knight hf5, and guess what? We're going to do it anyways, because if you take our queen, we capture yours with check, and we're going to win your knight. If you take, we take back with the knight again. Okay, your queen runs. In this case, we can take. Queen takes h6. This is fine, right? We still have a better game here, more activity, 2 bishops versus 2 knights as white. But I will say that in this case, we're attacking. We're playing attacking chess. Do we want to trade down? It's a little bit hard here, right? Because in one sense, we're down a pawn. So in that sense, we don't want to trade, right? Or sorry, since we're down a pawn, we would want to win that pawn back so that we even out the material. On the flip side, though, should we stay down material and keep attacking? In this case, I think the answer is yes. Okay. Let's say we play a move like queen h4. By the way, if you want to save your pawn with your king, okay, and play something crazy like king g7, you're going into the line of fire. Okay, your king is just not very safe. And we're going to play something like castling queenside, rook over f4. This king is about to get blasted. You play something like a4. We don't even care. We're playing f4, kicking this knight around. And if you take absolutely disgusting tactic here from white, and I think this is a prime example of kind of how active and how important the Fianchetto bishops in the Hippo can be. This bishop on b2 is a game changer when it comes to our attacking chances. And the opponent often forgets that, which makes sense, right? We as Hippo players might forget that at times, but this bishop, even though it's all the way over here, are covering some of the most important squares in this game. And in this case, we can take the knight on g5. Whole idea being, if you capture back, game over. Rook h8, that's it, right? And if, let's say, you see that and you play a move like queen g6, take our queen. Go ahead, right? If you take our queen, again, we have mate, right? I mean, that's it. And if you don't take our queen, we're going to take heirs. Or just checkmate you on h8. I mean, this is absolutely over 1000% resignable for black. Hey guys, I really quickly wanted to tell you about something that we've been working on for over a year. I have partnered with Coastline Creative, and we have come out with some exclusive Chess Giant merch. Okay, we got t-shirts, hoodies, tote bags, and more. And if you're interested in getting 10% off, all you got to do is go to my website, okay, and on there you'll get invited to join my email list. Join my email list, and I will send you the discount code there. On top of that, if you want to get 20% instead of 10%, all you got to do is become a supporter on my Patreon. Become a patron, and you will get 20% off of all Chess Giant merch in the future. Okay, I hope you guys like the designs. Let me know what you think of them down in the comment section below. Let me know any ideas that you have for future, clothing ideas, design ideas, and all that kind of good stuff that we can put on the site. And yeah, let's get back to the video. So going back to the move g5, if black wants to take, that h file is going to really come in handy. Just remember, don't trade down, play attacking chess. If you play attacking chess and you go up a pawn or up a piece or whatever, then you can start thinking about trading. But in general, when we're attacking, we don't want to trade down, okay? Here in the game, though, instead we have the move of knight e8. I figure, hey, let's just break this position open. I'm not castling kingside. This king is on the king side. Let's break this thing open. And here I should have took the pawn back, but instead we see this move f5, which is the second best option in the position. But I just think here, the fact that black is after h5 and taking, black's down a pawn. What do they have to show for it? Nothing crazy. Because of that, white's winning. If you're down a pawn, you're losing 90+% of the time. If you're up a pawn, you're almost always winning. Now, there's obviously exceptions. There's certain gambits. There's certain lines that work. There's certain sacrifices that we've seen great players like Mikhail Tal, for example, play to great success. But overall, if you're just down a pawn, you're just down a pawn. And that often means that the good player can turn that pawn and convert that into a win. In this case, I'm just like, hey, let's keep pushing. Why not? Keep pushing. Queen e2, e4 is played here. Notice by doing this that our bishop just got a lot more active. I played the move of bishop h3. The engine is really fond of this knight h5 move, which the more I look at it, the better it gets. I think this is a really good move because it attacks a bunch of key dark squares, especially g7 and f6. And on top of that, we just got one more minor piece off of the g file, which means that rook g1 is on the way, and only one piece has to move in order for this king to be in check. So knight h5, very dangerous idea there, okay? Remember, guys, it's bullet chess, okay? So try to be nice to me. Well, if you want. You don't, a lot of people are, a lot of people aren't. So, that's life. But, okay, bishop h3 is what I played here. I don't regret playing this. I still think that this is a very solid move. Notice how it also prevents black from playing f4 because we're simply going to take. And now you have two bishops going after your king, and you just lost a knight. So after bishop h3, we instead see this move of bishop f6. My question for you is capturing a good idea? Now, just a moment ago, I said that if you're up material, we want to trade down. This is true, but every rule has exceptions and sub-rules, right? That kind of thing. At the same time, when we're up material, we don't want the game to get crazy complicated, right? And in this case, after queen captures, our dark squares are extremely weak, okay? Even if you play a move like d4, that's fine. That's the best thing that white has there, but these squares are still very weak, right? Black can try to take advantage of these at some point by maneuvering their queen, okay? And castling queenside, all of a sudden the king just doesn't feel so safe anymore without that bishop there, okay? I've said it before, whoever captures first with the rook loses the file. Kind of the same idea here, okay? After the move of bishop f6, we might see, oh my gosh, this bishop is so active. Let's take it off. Wait, did that really fix our issue? Not really. Black now has a queen on that diagonal, and we have nothing that can really stop that activity besides pushing d4, but we still have some big weaknesses. So instead there, after the move of bishop f6, I decided to close it down. Now I feel very solid on the queen side. My king can castle queen side if I want to, and my king feels a lot safer. And is this bishop active? No. Right? Is this bishop active? No. But it is a solid defensive piece. I would rather have two, I have an inactive piece and you have an inactive piece than trade off and I have nothing there and you have another active piece coming in. It's just basic math, right? But I always try to make things simple for myself in terms of playing the game, okay? Knight g5 is played. Here I end up capturing on f5, taking on h7, castling queenside. Hey guys, I didn't take this because the bishop would fall. And again, they get great counterplay, monstrous bishop on that square. So I castle. Now I am threatening to take that because the king defends b2. The knight goes back. Here I should have just brought this rook over. Why not, right? Why not just put this rook here? Amazing activity from our major pieces. Instead I play the move of queen g4. Not a terrible idea. I play some solid moves, but I think I should have played that a little bit earlier. I finally bring that rook over. I play queen f5 check. Rook g6 is the only move here that gives black somewhat of a game. It's still around plus 1.5 for white. And f4 really breaks things open even more. But the issue with king h8 is we just win this piece, right? And from there, I take the queen, take the rook, and I'm +7 now. The game continues, and I end up just trying to trade down, go after weaknesses, and I'm kind of skimming through this because it's just a clearly one game for white. Now, the last moves that I just clicked through, this is the whole game could have continued thing. I don't know why chess.com always does that, but here are just some moves that I could have played, advancing the pawn, bringing the rook in. If you're down material in the end game, you're losing. If you're up material, you're winning, right? Unless there's some crazy exception like you're about to promote or whatever, you're usually, if you're up material, you're winning. So just remember that, okay? Always remind yourself of that. I'm up material, I'm winning. How do I convert this? Okay. And we can just keep pushing pawns. You can take all you want. We're just going to keep moving. Okay. But the fact of the matter is, after king c2, Ike ends up resigning here. And I hope you enjoyed this game. Just again, a quick reminder, when you play g4 and tuck that knight, ask yourself, how many pieces are attacking these two squares? If the answer is 1 or 0 for either one, or really both, once you add them up, you are able to play this move of h4, really start getting some space, break open this H-file potentially and play some fun attacking chess. I'll see y'all in the next one. Hey, thanks for watching today's video. I really quickly wanted to give a shout out to my Patreon community for the month of March in 2024. I appreciate y'all a ton. And if you guys are interested in joining the Patreon community, becoming part of that family, I highly recommend that you go check it out. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.